Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Friday edition of the Bass Chaplain Fishing Podcast. We are so happy that you are here with us today. Today, we have an angler that was the youngest angler to ever fish a Bassmaster Elite Series tournament, the youngest ever, and he's a Major League Fishing champion. From Kentucky today, Bradley Roy is coming up next on the Bass Chaplain Fishing Podcast, where faith and fishing hook up. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. Once again, I have a guy here today with me who is the youngest competitor to ever compete in a Bassmaster Elite Series, and he is a Major League Fishing champion, and he's from my favorite state, other than the state of South Carolina. Bradley Roy is with me. Hey, Bradley, how's it going, man?
Man, it's going good, dude. It's finally warming up here in Kentucky and staying warm. Just enjoying it. I'm actually got a little time at home, so life's good, man.
Good deal. You got a big turkey behind you, man. Where'd you kill that one?
I killed that. I've got a little place in Lincoln County, Kentucky here, and had it a few years, and I enjoy hunting it. I killed that bird down there in Lincoln County, Kentucky.
Man, I had a guy on my podcast recently named Mark Prudhomme. He's a friend of mine from college, and he's won the Grand National Turkey College Championship 17 times. 17-time Grand National winner, 8-time world champion, and I've only been turkey hunting one time in my life. I'm the worst, but I love Kentucky. When deer season comes in, you just look for me in Kentucky, because that's where I'm going to be, man. I love it. I love that state. I'd move there tomorrow if I could, man. That is my absolute. Kentucky has got everything. It's got big bass, big deer, and the cost of living is low. And you guys are the best drivers in the country. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Amen to that. Yeah, but that's why I love it, because there's something to chase every season. There's something to
That's
chase.
right. Hey, man, listen, when I say you're the best drivers, Kentucky's got the smallest roads I've ever seen in my life. There's no room for error. You've got to be a perfect driver in Kentucky or you're going to die. I mean, that's just right. The way it is. So it's awesome. I always kid my buddy Tim Smith in Cadiz, Kentucky, about how the roads are so small. He's like, man, y'all have giant roads in South Carolina. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty wild. Well, man, listen, I'm so excited for you. I can't stand it, dude. You won the tournament, and then you had a parade in your hometown, man. How awesome was that? I mean,
yeah. So that's been kind of funny about that whole deal is everywhere I went, that has been what people have talked about, after the fact. And what I'm learning is, so in Kentucky, we talked about different things that happen in Kentucky. That's not out of the norm. I mean, if a basketball team wins a regional championship or whatever, football, it doesn't matter what it is. If you live in a small town, when you come back home, you're going to get a police escort. Well, it was no different when I won a tournament. They treated me the same way. It's kind of cool to have that small town support. But what I'm learning is that that's not the norm everywhere in the country. So that's something kind of cool that we do here.
Chris Wells has never had a parade in my hometown. I've never gonna have a parade, man. That was so cool. I was watching that, and I called everybody and I said, look at this. I mean, that had to be the coolest feeling. Not only winning the tournament. I mean, when you find out, what is it like? And Major League Fishing is so different than, you're not coming in for the weigh-in, but you pretty much know you wait about a minute because you kind of wait for that score tracker to update. And then bam, you're the champion right there. How did that feel when you finally cinched that one up?
It's just an overwhelming rush of emotions. I mean, you've been on the road with professional anglers a long time. You know what we put into this, and what we go through to try to get there. And even I almost felt like it wasn't just for me. It was for my family and my sponsors and my wife and my whole support system, just because even though this is a solo sport, I couldn't do it without the support that I have from everybody. You know, we talked about my small town throwing the parade and all that stuff. So it's this rush of emotion. You know, you're excited, you're happy, you're just coming off that roller coaster of worrying if you're gonna win. You know, then you know you did win, so then you get that excitement and relief, and it's just this whole thing hitting you at once. But it's really an awesome experience, and I don't know, it's crazy. So you get one under your belt, and then like as a competitor, you're just like, man, I want to do that again. And then
Yeah.
you realize how hard it was to do it the first time, and you're like, it's gonna be hard to do it again. But that's what makes it so cool, because the competition is just, they're relentless. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, you know these guys as well as I do. I mean, they don't let up.
Dude, the score tracker would drive me absolutely insane. I just, there's no way. I spent out in a fruit jar tournament on a Tuesday night on Lake Kiowee when I don't know what anybody else is doing. I can't imagine what's it like to have somebody right there with you going, yeah, Andy Montgomery just caught another one, or somebody just caught another one. I mean, that would drive me crazy. I'd want to kill the judge, man.
It's pretty, it's pretty bad, honestly. Like, and if for people that followed that tournament, I had a really good day, had a great, you know, good first period, great second period. And then in the third period, I did not score a bass. So I had a good lead. And then I was just watching these guys or listening to these guys chip away at my lead. And man, I'm just praying, you know, like, Lord, let me catch one. And, you know, I'm normally really good at kind of compartmentalizing that stuff. And I'm kind of really calm, you know, I can just fish through it. But I was missing pitches. I was missing casts. I was, you know, it was getting to me. And I kind of joked to some people. I was like, that third period took years off my life, just because I felt like all these guys were just, I felt like I was getting punched in the face over and over and over again. But thankfully it was enough to get the victory. It's just what the score tracker does is just, it makes it fun to watch. It makes it more of almost like a game, you know, like a basketball game or something where you see the score instantaneously, but you also have to live through those emotions instantaneously as well. So it's unique to the game for sure.
Well, you know, Major League Fishing always, I've taped everything and I'm watching it all the time, but I never can keep track. I mean, guys will call me and go, man, I saw the guys fishing here or there. And I can't keep up whether it's a Summit Cup or whatever they call it, cup or wherever it is, but man, there's a lot for the fan to keep up with. What are the different, you know, areas of Major League Fishing? I know you got your BPT, and then is it the Summit Cup series? Is that the next part?
Yeah, so it is a little confusing. So what happens, what made Major League Fishing popular was the cup tournaments, you know, and that what those were, they filmed those in secret, and they were usually filmed a year ahead and nobody knew about what was going on. So you would see these guys, you know, and those guys would fish those tournaments, but they would fish them, you know, in the fall, and they wouldn't air again or they wouldn't air at all, and nobody would know the results until the next summer. Well, that's kind of what got Major League Fishing popular. Well, then they started the Bass Pro Tour, which is more of your traditional, you know, you got your live coverage, you know what's going on. That's what I compete on, the Bass Pro Tour. But in conjunction, they've continued to run the Cup Series while they're doing that. But those are made for TV tournaments. Basically, we film those, and then they don't air again for a year. So what happens is we'll be out on the road at a Bass Pro Tour tournament, and everybody's following along, and then it comes time for that Cup tournament to air on the Outdoor Channel or whatever, and it'll pop up, and sometimes it's confusing because they're like, well, dang, I thought I saw Stephen Browning down in Louisiana, but it's showing him in New York fishing that Cup tournament. So it is sometimes hard to follow, and that's probably something that I think we've tried to address. It needs to be addressed, but there is definitely a lot of content to follow if you like bass fishing.
Well, keeping a victory a secret for a year. I mean, if you won, imagine that. I mean, the first thing you want to do when I catch a fish, I'm like bragging, oh, look at the fish. Look at the fish.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, you know, winning the club tournament. I'm like, telling everybody, imagine keeping a pro victory a secret for a year.
Yeah,
Man.
it would be tough. It would be tough. And it's funny because when I do fish the Cup stuff now, all my buddies know, you know, I'm not supposed to tell how I did or whatever, but they can't help it. They ask, you know, they want to know how I did. And so it's a different deal, but it's all just trying to, you know, for that made for TV stuff.
You know, that's one of the things, one of the hardest things for me is not to talk fishing with a pro that has, you know, might have a tournament coming up or wherever it is. You can't get information. And I've been in the boat with you guys where people on the docks and they just run down there and they're just dying to tell you, what they know and dying to help you out or something like that. And you have to tell them, no, I can't do that. I know that's gotta be tough, man. That's gonna be tough when you're always having to say, what's your go-to line to those people? What's the,
Well,
what do you say to
so
them?
that's the problem is, we want to try to follow the rules, and most people are just trying to help us. They're just
Mm,
trying. They're just friendly. They're like you
yeah.
and I would be if you owned a dock and I was fishing by. You'd come out and say, "Hey, man, I caught one on a spinnerbait today," or
Yeah.
And most of the time, that information is really not going to help me. I mean, most
Yeah.
of the time,
Right.
pro anglers usually already know what that guy tells you, but our rules, it's the intent. If we continue to let that person talk, then we could be crossing that line, that we may be listening, trying to hear something to gain an advantage. So
Yeah.
we have to try to stop them, man. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes you wouldn't believe it. It'll come from a young kid that's a fan. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't want to be harsh. You don't want to squash it, but I try to stop them talking as quick as I can. And I say, hey, look, we can't talk to me about fishing at this place. Just let's talk about anything else. You can tell me what the crappie's biting on. Don't tell me nothing
Yeah.
about the bass. And it's super hard. And sometimes people kind of, take it the wrong way, but it just is what it is, man.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. Well, tell me how you got started. Now, tell me about the Bradley Roy dream of becoming a bass pro. How did it happen, man?
Well, probably similar to a lot of other, other guys. I tell people all the time, I feel like I'm one of the most blessed guys that, has ever, ever lived. But I was born into a great family that loved the outdoors. Dad took me fishing. We started out in a little bass club. It was called the Kentucky River Bassmasters. And he had a partner that he fished with all the time, but if that partner couldn't fish with, man, he would take me. I was probably 7 or 8. He'd have me in the boat and we'd go fishing. And so I just grew up loving the sport of bass fishing. And really what got me wanting to make a living doing this, as I got older, of course, they don't have as many of them now, but they used to do the junior Bassmaster tournaments. Yeah. Now it's more driven to more high school stuff like that. But the junior stuff was a big, big deal. And so Dad got me into some of those tournaments. I did well. I qualified for the 2004 Junior Bassmaster World Championship. Well, as you know, they used to run those in conjunction with the Bassmaster Classic.
Yeah.
And they did it on the off day for the guys. So those guys, I think it was on the off day or whatever day it was, but the guys fishing the Classic would be our boat captains for that deal. So anyway, I ended up winning that tournament. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I just, by the grace of God, won that tournament. But that was the deal. What it gave me was a firsthand look. I fished with Chad Brower.
Yeah.
Super dude. Of course, everybody knows Denny, but that's his son,
Yeah.
Chad.
Yeah, I remember Chad.
And I got firsthand look at seeing these guys who make a living catching bass. And it opened my eyes to the fact that there are people making a living catching fish, and I was 13 at the time. And from then on out, I'd go to school and tell all my teachers that's what I wanted to do. I'd tell everybody I met that's what I wanted to do. And I just, I had the parents that supported my dream. They would let me go fishing. Dad would take me fishing. And it just was one of those things that I'm really thankful looking back that I was given the opportunities that I was. But it just was in me at a young age. And I hope I can raise my son the same way that, he may not like the outdoors, but I know I'm going to give him the chance because for me, I think it's a great way to raise a family, in the outdoors. And I was just thankful to be raised in a family that loved it.
Yeah. No, so you were the youngest angler to ever fish at the time, a Bassmaster Elite Series. I mean, you were like what, 19 years old?
Yeah. So a lot of that happened fast, and I look back on it now, and it's kind of crazy. And you just know it's kind of one of those God things. But when I graduated high school, I was starting to fish the Federation tournaments as a boater. You can start when you're 16. I think I started when I was 16 or 17. I made the divisionals as a boater and the Federation stuff, and then I made the Federation Nation Championship. Well, I didn't do very well in the Federation Nation Championship, but one thing when you make that Federation Nation Championship is it gives you a priority bid into the Bassmaster Opens, and anybody that's ever tried to get into those knows how hard it is to. There's usually a big waiting list. So I talked to Dad about it, and I won a boat. Let's go back, and if I get telling too long of a story, just tell me.
You're
But
good.
When I won that Junior Bassmaster World Championship, I won a little aluminum boat. Had like 15 horse Mercury on it. It was a Triton aluminum boat, 15 footer. I love that thing. But when I got out of high school and I had the opportunity to get into the opens, I looked at my dad and I was like, I'd like to try them. So we talked about it. He's like, would be a good time to do it. I sold that boat, to help fund things that I'd won at the time, and went into the opens and qualified for the Elite Series the very first year. I was 18 fishing the opens. So by the time I fished the first Elite Series event, I was 19, and it was one of those deals, super young, still super green, but I also kind of evaluated things. I didn't have a family. I wasn't, I had not a, my family. I had mom and dad and everybody. But I wasn't married, didn't have kids, didn't have a house payment at the time. So I felt like if I was going to take that professional fishing leap, it was a halfway decent time to maybe try it.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Yeah.
It was, I'm not saying it's always been easy. There's been it was certainly harder at other times, sometimes other than others, but that's how it happened. I mean, it's just, it was crazy. I worked hard, was given opportunities where I could, but just to fish the opens, I've fished opens since then, and they're not easy. That's a super tough trail to make it through. But just super thankful to make it that first year.
Yeah. Randy Blockett talks about, he thinks it's harder to fish the opens than it is to fish the Elite Series. He said there's so many guys, they're gunning, for that. And that's kind of the guys that go back and requalify and stuff. I mean, that's amazing to run that gauntlet of how many people fish those things, how many people are in it. It's really wild. But I remember when you came to the Elite Series, that was an awesome deal. 19 years old, man. That's amazing. Well, man, tell me, now you are a man of faith, and that's why we have you on this show. So we're going to, how did you come to know Jesus, man? What's the deal? How did that happen?
So I told you, I grew up in a great family. And my grandfather was a Baptist minister. He's pastored several churches. He was born in 41 or something. So he's 80, in his 80s now. He's pastored a bunch of churches. So I was just always raised in church. And that's looking back now, you see the benefits to that. And I just remember we had actually, my family and I, my mom and dad were originally from Russell County, Kentucky, which is down near Lake Cumberland. Probably most people know where that's at. And dad had took a job in Lexington. So we moved north about an hour. My mom and dad were still involved in the little church that we were going to down there. So we still would visit that church often. But we were going to a church up an hour north of here. So I'd been getting under conviction. I was, I think, 10 at the time. And, I remember, of course, you don't understand a lot when you're 10, but that's what's cool about the gospel, is it doesn't take a rocket science to figure it out. A child can understand it. Yeah. And I remember, asking mom questions and dad questions, and man, I knew something was working on me. You know how it gets. Right. And so we'd been going to the church up here a little north, and there was a revival at our old church. And so we decided to go down to it. Our mom and dad took us down to it. And man, it got to me. The conviction got to me. The Lord got to me, and I couldn't take it anymore. Went down and didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. But that's what's neat about when God gets after you and you realize your need for salvation. It's pretty simple. And at the age of 10 in New Pleasant Point Baptist Church in Nancy, Kentucky, the Lord saved me. And I knew when he did, and I can remember standing up after I got saved, and I just looked at my dad. I said, he saved me, and I hugged him up. And it was still like right now I'm getting chills talking about it. And, everybody's got a different story about that, but that moment in time, you remember when the Lord saved you. It's so cool to have that.
Right. Yeah.
And it made it even more special. So I was 10, my sister's 4 years older than me. My sister got saved the same night.
Wow.
The same night. So it was a really cool deal. And the church is really special to us. Of course, we weren't going there anymore. Mom and dad weren't members there anymore, but just to get saved, it was kind of a neat deal. Of course, we ended up joining the church up here and went there many, many years. And it's just, that's how I came to know Christ. But it helped because I was raised in, a family that knew the Lord and took me to church and nurtured me in a gospel household.
Yeah. Revival services. It's wild that you say that, because a guy on my board of directors just FaceTimed me right before you got on, and they're having a big revival down there in my hometown right now, where they're having an old tent revival, bringing back the tent revival. But it's wild, when you talk about being convicted, I think a lot of guys feel that, conviction, or they think, people are, I just got to go off, kind of get by myself. But when God works on your heart, that's God speaking to you. That's God calling you. And he's saying, hey, I want you to be my child. And we respond, by turning towards him and repenting of our sins and asking him to come into our life to be the Lord and Savior of our lives. And one of the things that I try to convey is that I'm not a Christian because I'm better than everybody. I'm a Christian because I'm worse than everybody. I'm absolutely, worse. I got saved at a fraternity house, and I laid on my face under you call it a pecan tree in Kentucky, it's pecan tree in South Carolina. But that's how it happened. But you're right. That day that Christ saves you, it's the most important day of your life. It's more important than who you're going to marry. It's more important than anything, and it shapes, your entire really eternity, from then on. So, man, that's awesome. And I know you're an awesome witness everywhere you go. And when you share with, with younger anglers, and you do a big high school tournament, don't you sponsor like a big high school tournament over where you are?
Yeah, we've been doing it.
Yeah.
So I got a shirt on right here from it. This was the 8th annual shirt we gave away at that one. So this coming year will be the 10th one we've done. And we started that just kind of I go back to the same thing we talked about earlier. I always felt like that I was a product of programs and people giving me an opportunity to fish and just all that good stuff. So just an awesome opportunity for me to help my sponsors and put on a good tournament for high school anglers. I thought it would be a good way to give back. We enjoy running them. My family and I run several tournaments a year, just, because we enjoy bass fishing. We enjoy running them. So we've grown it. We started out on a small lake in Kentucky, Cedar Creek Lake, and it got really crowded really quick. So we had to kind of expand. We've taken it to Lake Cumberland. We do a two-day deal. So the first day we're on Lake Cumberland, traditional 5-fish limit format. And then we cut the field and we do a smaller championship day on an unknown body of water, Major League Fishing format.
That's cool.
But what you see is, these high school anglers, the best ones, right? I did not expect this at all. Out of this tournament is these colleges and universities coming and recruiting out of this tournament, because what they're seeing is anglers that can survive day one fish and day two, catch as many as you can, Major League Fishing type format, going to a body of water they may not even know, that they're starting to really use that, that tournament to recruit. And then the other thing, I use it as an opportunity to try to share the gospel a little bit. So on day 2, it's always Sunday, and it's necessary sometimes to fish on Sunday. Yeah, it's what I do for a living, but we always try to make the best of it. I know, you've always done a great ministry on the Elite Series. Mark Rose does a great job, and Ott and those guys do his fishing church on Major League Fishing, trying to make sure that we at least give, we try to glorify God on Sunday. We do it every day, but we try to make sure before we take off. So on Sunday of our deal, I'll always get in. Like this year, we did the tournament kind of close to where my church is, and I had my pastor come down before he preached, and before we took off, he did a devotion. And to me, it's always, I love that, because that gives me an opportunity. I've got a captive audience, I can at least get the gospel to, the anglers that are there, and share with them that that's important. I love bass fishing, man. I go to the bass fishing competitor. If you're going to fish again, you got to beat you. That's just how God made it. At the same time, we talk about faith, and that's the most important thing. If you don't have that, the rest of that doesn't matter.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Awesome that you do that and get a chance to, especially with the younger anglers and stuff. That's a great opportunity for them to not only get some great fishing experience, but maybe to have the best experience of their life by receiving Christ in their life, man. Hey, and listen, with Fishing Church, I asked Mark Rose to do Fishing Church on Major League Fishing. I just want to, I feel like I'm the founder of Fishing Church at Major League Fishing. But so, man, he does a great job. I'm hoping to, to get him on soon, but that's pretty awesome. Well, man, Let me ask you this question. If you had, we got a lot of young anglers listening, a lot of guys that just want to get better. What are some things that you see in today's younger anglers or amateur anglers that you would say to them to say, hey, if you want to get better, if you want to be a better fisherman, what are some things you'd tell them to do?
Well, obviously it's on your skill set level, but you can go to, even to this day, I still practice my fundamentals, whether it be, making myself a better caster, a better flipper. All those things will definitely help you. But the one thing I see, I run a high school tournament every year, but one of the biggest things I see of a breakdown from going from high school to the college level and then all up to open level is being able to find and cover water. So those two kind of go together. And you, like I said, this, been around these pro anglers.
Yeah.
Pro anglers don't waste time on bass. At the high school level, young anglers, your parents are going to help you, your coach is going to help you try to find fish. But the more you can, go to a pond, go to a creek, get out on the lake when you can, and try to help find those fish yourself or with your team. What it's going to do is help you go through that process and help you better learn how to find those fish on your own. Because what's going to happen is when you jump into the college ranks, all of a sudden your coach is not going to be there, and your boat captain's not going to be there, or whoever it may be. So find those fish on your own, and then cover water, man. We've done articles on this stuff, and if those fish aren't there, you can't catch them. And if you go, I encourage everybody, go keep your distance. If there's a pro tournament coming to your area, go watch them. Keep your distance, stay back, don't fish, enjoy watching them, but take this on what you see every pro angler do. And I guarantee you, every one of them, they're going to cover more water than you've ever seen anybody ever cover. I guess it's a whole thing. It's more change your mindset and maybe adapt your mindset into what it needs to be if you want to continue up to the next level.
Man, that's good stuff right there. Yeah. I know that the cadence of, a lot of times I want to fish through something. I want to fish a whole area and I'll be late leaving. And so that's good stuff. Yeah. I like it. Well, man, this is an awesome deal. So what I do at every podcast episode is we try to have you imitate a bass pro. And so we know that, impersonation is the highest form of flattery. So if you got somebody you think you can do for us today.
I promise I'm not good at impressions. I can't.
That's okay, man. Everybody says that.
But a guy, a good friend of mine, and the coolest dude you'll ever meet is old Cliff Crochet.
Oh yeah.
And he's gonna throw that popping frog. We're gonna go down to Louisiana. We're gonna throw that popping frog. That's my Cliff Crochet impersonation.
Crochet, like, hey baby, hey Chaplain, hey man, this thing's hurting. This Bible's hurting me over here, Chaplain. That's what he told me one time. I gave him I gave Crochet the Purpose Driven Life book one time, and he brought it back to me and said, man, this thing's hurting me, man. It's hurting me. He said, yeah. I said, well, you got to go through the hurt to get to the good. So that's the way it goes, man.
That's right.
Yeah, I tell you, there are so many good anglers out there and so many of you guys, and I appreciate your witness. I appreciate your testimony. And man, I appreciate the opportunity to listen. And before we go, we got to talk a little bit about deer hunting. Now, I know you're a big deer hunter. I can't wait. I mean, this year, my wife started with the cancer really got bad, of course. And so I was in Kentucky and I'm on the LBL. I found a place. I walked into a place that's way further than a fat guy ought to walk into, but I did. I walked in and found it. It was torn up. I scouted it. And then the next day and so I never got a chance to hunt it, but I'm going back. So you're a big hunter. Do you shoot a bow or are you a rifle guy? I know in Kentucky, you pretty much got to be a bow guy, sometime, but tell me about,
I love to bow hunt. And I try every year to kill one with a bow, but if it's legal, I'll shoot them with type of guy. You know what I mean? And, so I usually work and try to get a good buck with a bow every year. But if gun season, I break out the gun.
Yeah. I'll tell you.
I'm scared to do it. I told you, deer hunting is my first love. Love turkey hunting. You see the turkey behind me. I know the light's getting on me a little bit, but you can see, I love the turkey hunt and all that, but deer hunting is my first love. And I've joked with people And there's other pro anglers that say this too. I just fish to make enough money so I can deer hunt.
Amen.
That's all.
Amen to that. Yeah, I heard that. I got like that about 15 years ago too. That's it. Well, man, dude, I appreciate you taking time to being with us here today, and appreciate your testimony. Appreciate all that you do for the sport, man. And I know that first tournament victory probably not going to be the last time that you ever have a parade. And I can't wait for the next one, man. It's going to be great. Good deal.
Me either, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, brother. All right. This is Chris Wells, and this is the Bass Chapman Fishing Podcast. Hope you'll come back and join us next week where faith and fishing hook up.